ghostly dance whirling over one another, high in the air. Matt was still by the door. Richard could just make him out behind the wall of mist, but for a moment he disappeared. As more ghostly shapes differed between them, it was impossible to be sure how many of the creatures had been brought to life. But no matter how many of them were, none was more dangerous than the Diplodocus, which remained at the very centre, looming over the others. There was no way Richard could get past it, but he had to move if he stayed. If he stayed. Here much something would find him. It might fly down from above or lunge at him from behind. A sudden snap of teeth, the slash of claw. Death was somewhere, and he knew it would come for him very soon. And the Delopter swung its tail. It moved almost lazily. The great mess of bones whipped through the air, and Richard gasped as it crushed into one of the columns. Broken marble and masonry rained down in a billowing cloud of dust. It was only now that he understands the full horror of its situation of fluid. They were only bone. The dinosaur was as strong as they had been when they were alive. If they wanted to, they could bring the old museum crashing down. Richard Matt called out, and the Diloptus turned, searching for him. The pterodactyls peeled apart and joined the hunt. "Take the keys," Richard cried. "Just get out of here." He raised his arms and with all his strength threw the keys ring at Matt. The keys flew over the Diloptus and hit the ground on the other side, skidding the rest of the way. Matt leant down and grabbed them. "Come on," he shouted. "Get out. I'm not leaving without you. Just open the door." Matt knew Richard was right. Maybe opening the museum would in some way circuit the magic that had brought the dinosaurs back from existence. Maybe he would be able to call for help. There were 6 keys on the ring. He picked them up and forced the first into the lock. It wouldn't move. He jerked it out and tried the second, then the third. None of them worked. It was almost impossible to concentrate on what he was doing. His hands were shaking. Every nerve in his body screamed at him to watch out behind it. He managed to insert the 4th key, but he had time to try it. The tail of Diplodocus brushed against his shoulder enough to send him flying. It felt as if he had been hit by a truck. Bruised and dazed, he staggered to his feet, lunged back to the door and turned the key. At once a bell began to ring and a red light flashed. Somehow, behind the writing mist, he had set off the alarm. At the same moment, the door swung open. He was free. But there was Richard. The journalist hadn't moved. He had heard the alarm and knew that the door must be open. But he was still trying to work out how to get past the Diplodocus. The The way forward was blocked. Could he escape upstairs? A second later he cried out, as his ankle was gripping by what felt like a coil of barbed wire. He looked down and saw a tiny treble-like thing only 15 centimeters high. It had caught hold of him with teeth like drawing pins. Richard swore, and shook it free and then kicked it at its head with all its strength, smiling as the bodies disintegrated. The smile was whipped away as the creature's mother, 10 times bigger, scuttered towards him. He made his decision and began to run. Sure enough, the Decoloptus head, the sound, and its great neck twisted around other skeletons, loomed out of the shadows, encircling him, but the door was open. The way ahead was clear. You can make it, Max shouted. The Diloptus was still standing between the two of them, but with a shudder of excitement, Matt realized what Richard was planning to do as he watched Richard ducked underneath the tail of the Diplodocus and ran between its hind legs, and beneath its belly the dinosaur was too big to consume to stop him, and the other creature couldn't get anywhere near him. A quick exit between the monster's front legs, and he would be at the door. He would be safe in guards. The Decoloptus reared up, its powerful head pounded against the upper balcony. A gust of cloud wind tugged the back of Matt's neck. He had footprints appearing. Richard had come to a halt beneath the Decoloptus. He was staring at Matt, his face twisted in shock and disbelief. The balcony had been shattered by the impact. The great arch split open, and with a defending crust, all massive pile of stone and a mortar, glass, and steel plummet down, unable to bear the weight. The Decoloptus itself collapsed, its legs bulking beneath it. Matt was about to run forward back into the museum when a pair of hands reached out and seized him by the neck. He cried out and twisted around. Richard was almost invisible behind the dust and falling. Stone, the carving rib cage of the dinosaur had become a cage of another sort of him. It was as if he had been swallowed alive. He was trapped inside it. Matt couldn't move. Miss Deverell was glaring at him, her eyes aflame. Noah was holding on to him, his hands tightly around Matt's throat. Matt lashed out, trying to break free. He felt his knees drive into Noah's stomach, but at the same time Miss Deverell had produced a damp cloth and pressed it against his face. The cloth smelled sweet and sticky. He choked, unable to breathe. Richard saw Matt saw the journalist, his face starked with blood, on his knees in the ghastly prison. Dust and rubble, that was something in the curtain thickened, and he was obturated. A steel glider smashed down into a pile. Matt and Richard cry out one last time, unable to fight anymore. Matt allowed the darkness to take him. The traffic rushed past. He had the car engine saw a traffic light turn from green to red. Everything was suddenly far away. The world twisted, turned upside down, and he remained nothing more. Subscribe, better like what's my other video. Thank you.